wonderful meeting plan for you today. So let's go ahead and begin with our bell. So here's our bell. I think we're getting good at it. So the meeting has officially begun. Let's go ahead and do our four-way test. So I'll click through, but go ahead and unmute your microphones if you want to join in. So the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. Is it the truth?
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned?
Fair to all concerned.
Will it build
Goodwill
and better
and better
friendships?
friendships.
Will it be beneficial
to all concerned?
Concerned.
All right, great. So I'll introduce our speaker in just a moment. This is going to be, like I said, a fantastic call today. I don't see anyone else joining as a guest for announcements. I'm going to send out a link in just a few minutes. So maybe at the top of the hour, I'll send out a link for our elections. So don't forget to click that link, check your email, click that link in just a moment. In about an hour or so, we'll do those elections to get that done out of the way. I don't think we have any other major announcements for the group, but I'm open to any interjections there. Okay, and chair updates. I know last week I didn't mean to catch you flat-footed, Kimberly, but if you have anything you want to share about the fellowships, please do. Otherwise, anyone else, if you have any announcements about fellowship or any kind of goals or things like that, please do let me know.
Yeah, well, John Hugo put something on Facebook talking about fellowships. I was pleased to see that, specifically about the surfing fellowship. So for all you Floridians, I'm not surfing up here in the mountains of West Virginia, but for the rest of you that have ocean, there is a surfing fellowship if you are surfers. So seriously, there's a fellowship for just about everything and anything you want to do. And if there isn't one, you can go on Rotary.org and I'll put the link up there for you, and you can set up your own fellowship. There's a mechanism for doing that. So if you've got an interest that Rotary doesn't have a fellowship for, please feel free. Everything from heavy metal to beer to wine to whiskey to quilting to music to doctors to lawyers. There's a fellowship for everybody. But the guy who started the surfing fellowship, I met him at one of the conventions, and he said, well, there wasn't a surfing fellowship and I like to surf, so let's start one. And he did.
Awesome, great message. Thank you so much, Kimberly. And let's see if Ed is on today. I don't see Ed joined yet, so I'm gonna just try to keep things moving along here. Let's go ahead and start with birthdays and anniversaries. Anyone have a birthday or anniversary they'd like to share? Well, I can start one off. My brother-in-law's birthday was yesterday. He is 37, turned 37 years old yesterday. So I'm really happy to see where he is in his life, and he's doing a great job. Glad to be here for his birthday here in Mexico. How about Sad Bucks? Go ahead, Kathleen.
Yeah, sorry, I had to unmute. The Sad Bucks are, I'm a little late, but the reminder for dues payment is going out today. And so if you haven't paid your dues, it's a sad day for you, but it's got to be done. And we're reminding again, trying to keep up our overall participation. Totally optional beyond the dues is contribution to the Rotary Foundation, or just, some sad or happy dollars combined with it. Totally at your option.
Good. Thank you for that. How about Happy Bucks?
Wait, I have a sad dollar. I've just rebooted my system and now my camera is black. It won't let me turn it on at all. So I even combed my hair for today, but
we're all sad that we won't get to see your beautiful face. But
oh well, thank you. Well done, Sam. Way to suck up to me.
We all put $1 for that. No.
Yes, let's all put $1 because Susie has
now
great
we're
hair
segueing
and we
into
can't
happy
see
dollars. So
yeah, we missed it. I guess I have a happy dollar too. I got brave after all these years of COVID and so forth. So I have 14 dear family members all coming for Tibbs Eve, which is the night before Christmas Eve. It's a kind of, I think, originally an English or south of the United States custom.
It's a Newfie thing.
Oh, is it also? Okay.
Yes, it's a Newfoundlander thing.
So-
St. Tibbs.
You can make a party, on the 23rd, and Kimberly's coming too, all the way from West Virginia.
I'm
So
family.
totally in the Christmas spirit and really enjoying it. So, and
I'm
bringing
looking
in
forward
food.
to it. I'm looking forward to it.
Light bulb moment. If anybody has Christmas cheer or holiday cheer of any kind that you'd like to share, send it to me. Send it to the president email for the club. And if you're interested, I'm more than happy to put that on Facebook, or just put it on Facebook and I'll click approve right away. I think it'd be great to fill our feed and put some holiday cheer out there. That'd be great to get some more.
Wonderful. And I doubt you guys can make it in the DC area, but as a musician who's been a little out of work during COVID, I'm playing 2 Christmas Eve services. I'll be
Wow.
Catholic for a while and then I'll be Unitarian later on, but it's a joyful time for me.
Beautiful. Lovely.
Like it.
Lovely. How about some other happy bucks? Any others?
I have a happy dollar. Actually, I
Please.
have a few. One is about 15 minutes before this meeting started, a friend brought over a German Shepherd that we're going to watch until Saturday. And his name is Muller, and he's making my dog very happy. They're both already worn out. And I have one at my feet and one behind me. So, and I have some exciting news where Saturday the CEO of Black Cloak reached out to me about some exciting opportunities. So I'm very happy about that. And he even tracked me down because he sent me a message on LinkedIn, but I don't have my notifications turned on for LinkedIn because I don't look at it that often. So he actually emailed me. He's like, hey, I sent you a message. So that's really exciting. And another client was wishing they could clone me. So
Bravo.
I feel like that's very dangerous for the world. 2 Gen leads would be absolutely terrifying, but yeah, so it's been good. And both my parents had COVID. My dad has tested negative for COVID, and my mom is on the mend and feeling better. So
Wonderful.
yeah.
Great news. Great news.
I think
Hopefully
I think that's like what, at least $30 of dollars that I need to.
Absolutely.
It was a lot.
I don't know. Hopefully Roger's got some good news for us as well. But Kimberly, you have your hand up?
I do. I just got a notice from Amazon that the Rotary Foundation of Rotary International has received a quarterly donation of $2,901.26 from Amazon Smile. Now, it wasn't all me. I don't spend that much money on Amazon, but when you are on Amazon, I want to remind you, when you're on Amazon, if you click up on the top left, at least on my computer, there's a smile thing. And if you buy your things through Amazon Smile, they will make a donation to the charity that you have selected. And I had selected Rotary. So a few of these pennies are from me, and Rotary has received over $80,000 from Amazon because people have selected Rotary as their charity through Amazon Smile. So let's do that. It's a painless way to donate. I mean, I know Amazon gets the tax break and all, but it's a painless way. If you're going to spend money on Amazon, some of it can go to Rotary International.
Might as well.
Might as well.
Of their tax break.
Yeah.
Well, wonderful. Wonderful. Roger, I put him on the spot. He, just so you know, he is okay. He wasn't angry with me putting him on the spot. He said he had to reboot. He's having audio video issues, but I was hoping his wife was doing much better, doing her recovery as well. But what I'll do now, if it's all right with everybody, is I'm going to go ahead and open it up to our speaker for the day. I'm going to do a quick introduction and just kind of, again, preface it with who we are and kind of where we're coming from, Hakim. So we spoke yesterday. I'm just so thoroughly impressed. I'm going to share some links as Hakim's talking. I'm going to put some links in the chat, and then if he mentions something, I'll go Google it, I'll go research it and put it in the chat for you guys to follow up on. But our group, Hakim, again, is we do record, so we watch these videos later. And just to let you know who's here, who's present, we have Gael from France, we have Finola from Ireland, Ailish is in the US, but from Ireland. And then the rest of us are kind of all over. We've got West Virginia, we've got Georgia, we've got DC area, a lot of Treasure Coast, Florida. So that's kind of where we're from. And for the group, Hakim, again, just so impressed with this young man. Hakim was inspired by President Barack Obama for his leadership on climate change and decided to pursue his interest in climate leadership by joining the ACE Action Fellowship. Hakim has a deep interest in public health and the intersections of climate change and environmental justice, which is something I'm very interested in learning more about, especially with our talk last week. Since joining ACE, Hakim played a role in the New York City Climate Week. He joined presidents, prime ministers, and other world leaders at the UN headquarters in New York City for the UN Paris Climate Change Agreement ratification ceremony. Hakim was part of a historic moment as a representative for youth taking action on climate change around the world. Hakim had the opportunity to speak with some of the world's premier climate change experts and activists in the UN Sustainable Development Goals Media Zone. Hakim was also selected as part of the the United Nations Paris Climate Change Agreement ratification ceremony in New York to join the Youth Circle discussion on sustainability with youth from around the world. Hakim also met with national elected officials to advocate for commercial wind energy in New York City as part of the New York Renews Coalition, and has co-hosted the Youth Climate Summit to further climate education and awareness within his local community in New York. As an ACE Fellow, Hakim hopes to gain experience in the field of climate education and advocacy. His deep passion for advocacy and strong belief in moral obligation to solve climate change fuels his drive to ensure that his community is educated and resilient. His personal experience feeling record-breaking warm temperatures last year further encourages his interest to pursue a fellowship with ACE. So we're hoping today that we can be educated by you, Hakim, that we can be energized by you, and that we can have some kind of takeaway here to really harness that passion, that energy that you're going to give us to make some changes in our communities as well. Please welcome Hakim Evans.
Thanks so much for having me. Good morning, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. Thank you so much for having me talk to your group. I did speak with Samuel yesterday, and we had a great discussion about what I can offer to the group, but also what I can learn from an intergenerational dialogue. So I think if Sam wanted to start it off with a question, or I could just go straight into like my personal story. And
Please do. I have the video ready. The video we talked about, my favorite video with you walking the beach. I have that video ready, but I can drop it in the chat for everybody and they can watch it on their own, or I could put it up now. It's totally up to you.
Sure thing. Well, I'll just give a brief introduction, I guess, before we do that. So my name is Hakim Evans. I started out with ACE in 2016 when it was the Alliance for Climate Education. It is now Action for the Climate Emergency. The branding needed to change as a response to the scope of where our work is going, beyond just educating young people, but also activating them to take action in their local communities or on a national level. And that work prior to that was focused on public health, specifically tobacco control in New York State, with an organization called Reality Check of New York and NYC Smoke Free. And from there, that's where my advocacy kicked in, and I delved more into the environmental aspect, and that's where ACE took me. And with ACE, I've experienced a lot. My ACE journey started early with the ratification of the Paris Agreement. I was one of 2 young people in the room when all the member nations were ratifying the Paris Agreement, and then having it go into force. So that happened in September, it went into force in November. And I think we all remember what happened with that November. And then the US stepping out, but we're back in. So that was a roller coaster of emotions, and I've experienced a lot of that in my work with ACE. And it's good because my experience hasn't been a smooth sailing one. It's definitely showed me everyone's story, all sides of the climate conversation, and all the events have been so wonderful in making me learn not just the bubble of what's supposed to happen in the realm of climate justice, but what's practical. Not everyone even believes in climate change. Not everyone is going to take action. And these spaces I'm in helps me to have the tough conversations with people who are at the table, may not want to do all the work, but it helps to have that conversation, which is the initial step that we have to take. And going further, my work with ACE was predominantly local, even though I have done those international events. So I'm based in Far Rockaway. It's a peninsula, so it's a bit separated from the rest of New York City, and it is prone to flooding. We're known for facing Superstorm Sandy in 2012, and it still has impacts on the peninsula to this day. Also, some work I've done not just with the Far Rockaway community, but also wider New York State, impacting legislation. So when I was younger in ACE, I had a lot of work to do with a bill we tried to pass called the Climate and Community Protection Act. From there, I saw the worst part of adults. At one point, we had to just step out of the coalition that we were in. And it showed us like group politics can always be a problem. So that was my first experience with group politics. But eventually we did pass the CCPA by a funny side story. So there were 3 state senators that were blocking the bill. We spoke to one of them, and after we got the yes, that they were going to vote yes, 6 months later, they got voted out of office, but it passed anyway. So it was a funny way that you can do all this work and toil for an issue you believe in, but it might not be the success story that you want, even though you'll get results. And that was really funny. Another issue was, I think we spoke about it, the audience I faced in the climate experience. I told Samuel about this one. I was invited to a conservative part of New York. They were focused on their aquifers. So they depend on aquifers for their local water. They care about the environment, but not really the climate per se. And so at this point, it was January 2017, start of the new administration. They were seeking federal funds to be climate resilient. And when I made the connections to why this looked kind of funny, it was a lot of side eyes from the wider community, but I still think the message was received, even though everyone didn't want to hear it. And that just let me know to know your audience, but also sometimes ignore the audience. And they invited me for a reason to speak, and I think they got what they requested. So in this movement, I've faced a lot of ups and downs, but it's always been insightful. There was never a moment where I wasn't learning. Even when I was in rooms with kids younger than me. So not sure if you're familiar with the Juliana plaintiffs, 21 young people who are actively suing the US government for their right to, that the US government is infringing on their right to liberty and the pursuit of happiness by not providing a stable climate for us to live in, mainly being aware of the US government causing climate change since the 1970s. So when I met the Juliana plaintiffs, their ages range from, I think, like 12 to 21. And it was so amazing to hear the stories of kids younger than me that are going through crises. Yeah, there it is, from Our Children's Trust. Hearing about young people going through crises and seeing how they're articulating their story in a way that I couldn't at 12 years old. It was so informative and just edifying to see young people and younger people tell their story in a way that they, like, only they know, and it helps other people to come to terms with the climate crisis. But there have been a lot of good times in the climate movement. Not all of it has been spent with ACE, but some with the community. So I have spent a little time community gardening. And from there, I really learned to have that relationship with the land. This was important for me because I grew up on the island of Jamaica, and it would be common for everyone to have a green thumb, not me. There was one time I was 7, my mom tasked me with taking care of a small mint plant, and I've never seen a shrub turn black before. Yeah, so learning that story of community gardening was so important to my relationship with the environment. Yeah, Sam, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask just about that relationship. Can you tell us, like, how did, I mean, by the way, I don't think I mentioned how old you are. Would you mind telling us how old you are?
Yeah, I'm 24. My birthday just passed 20 days ago.
Oh, good. Well, happy birthday. Happy birthday. And how long have you been doing this? I know the answer, of course, but how long have you been consider yourself a climate activist?
Since I was 16. So yeah, this is 8 years. Hopefully you never make me say that again. To think that 8 years have passed since I've started this work, it's amazing.
So I mean, like, I guess tell me how did you get involved in the first place? Like, what made you just stand up and say, I'm not okay with this, I've got to do something about it?
All right, so you want the real, like, the early backstory. So this actually started, like, it was a snowball. It started on a whim, actually. So my junior year, everyone was scrambling last minute to do something that relates to community service. We needed community service hours to graduate. Junior year, October junior year, we were all scrambling. And that's when a representative from NYC Smoke Free Reality Check, that's when she came in, gave a town hall. I'm like, yeah, this is all right. So community service, check. There's a lot of opportunities to travel, check. That's all I was interested in. But once you learn and actually take heed to the information being given to you, saying, hey, this is a problem, I want to do something about it. And from there, I snowballed with an interest to advocacy on tobacco control. And that's where I got involved in speaking with local elected officials. That was my first time meeting with my local councilman, my local assemblywoman, meeting with my 2 state senators. It was mind-boggling that a basic whim for community service hours turned into a passion for advocacy. And you know the story from there, blending it with the environmental side, and that's how I got into ACE.
Wow, thanks for sharing. I know my big question when I first reached out to you, my big question was like, how can we because we're an eco-friendly Rotary Club, and I mentioned to you that Rotary has several areas of focus, and the newest area of focus, it actually corresponds with the birth of this club. So this club, for various reasons, was founded right around the same time as Rotary International introduced their latest area of focus, which is the environment. And we kind of capitalized on that opportunity because we're all of a like mind, and that's we care very much about all the areas of focus, but it's the name of our club, it's the it's the mission vision, as it were, that's what we focus on, that's what we do. So I was always looking for something that could tie us in and find a way to to connect with our communities and to inspire us. And so that's really what drew me to you. Tell us your advice for folks who are perhaps hesitant, or perhaps just looking for that first step on how to get involved. Can you give us some inspiration there?
Definitely. So I've always advocated that youth are a pressure group for not just lawmakers, but adults. But adults can be an important support group for young people. So a Rotary Club like yours definitely can have relationships with schools in the form of fellowships. Definitely having partnerships with local school guidance counselors. That's so from experience with organizations similar to Rotary Clubs here in New York, the way we learned about them was through local partnerships. So beach cleanups, community cleanups with young people, that was where some intergenerational activities kind of stepped into play. The main one was really scholarships. Everyone was applying for the local Rotary Club scholarship. And yeah, it's said that young people have the energy, the passion, but not the money. Older individuals also have the passion, not much energy, but they have the money. And that's how we can share in that cross-generational dialogue. So yeah, supporting young people financially, but also supporting young people vocally, sharing their stories on social media. The older generations are keeping up with social media. They may not want to admit it, but I see you guys keeping up. Sharing information about the how-tos. So having those conversations. Young people my age are more on the socially awkward side. They're not big on conversations, even with peers, much less their local elected officials. Teaching that those social graces and decorum to younger people will definitely help them with networking skills, and networking with like a group like a Rotary Club. That's definitely a start. And it reminds me of Toastmasters. I'm not sure if you're aware with them. Yeah. So not everyone has access to Toastmasters. So you could be that for young people in the community. Giving not just financial tools, but also skills is a really important part of building the next generation. You can always give advice to kids who want to hear. Many might turn away, but there are kids that are always passionate, some who are still looking for their passion and will want to hear. So that's always important in climate activism. It's necessary to show adults that youth care, but it's also important that adults support youth whenever they can.
Well, in that exact vein, just to pull that thread a little bit, like now that you've kind of transitioned, because I was really excited to put you up on the stage here, and honestly, I think a lot of folks on the call right now, or people who are going to watch this video later, are going to be thinking to themselves, "Wow, 16? Okay, so how do we encourage that more, right?" And so you've given some great examples. Now, fast forward, so it's 8 years later. So now, Hakeem, what can we do for you? Like from that 16-year-old perspective, we've got the, engage with the school, we got the guidance counselor, we've got the scholarship, we got all those things. Okay, great. Now, what about you? Because you're now an adult, right? Like you're now that 24-year-old man who's theoretically making a lot of big decisions in their life, right? Like there's a lot of things happening for you right now. What can we do? What can this group? What can Rotary International? What can folks like myself and folks like the people on this call? What can we do to help you be successful? What's next for you?
Right. So next in the world of work with ACE. So I'll speak for other young people my age who are like fresh out of college. The next best thing for them is professional networking, going into the field that they care about. In college, many of us get degrees to go straight into the field that we're studying, but many of us we just study to get a degree just because. Then we're just jumping into a field, any field that will take us because we have the degree. From there, professional mentorship would definitely play a huge role after all those years of support. It's important to get young people ready for the working world, not just to find a job, stick to it. It's important to just be have that professional mindset. Supporting that can look like hosting job fairs, allowing that young person the privilege of your network. That's something I've seen a lot with older folks gatekeeping their network. It's not ideal to do it from young people. Yeah, you might be in competition with Larry down in marketing and Jane in accounting, but young people are gonna come up in either of those spheres, and it's important for older people to give them that benefit of the doubt. It's really just taking a chance on a young person professionally.
Would you be interested? Is there value? Like I've obviously connected with you on LinkedIn, and we'll do our best to share what's going on and what you're up to and try to follow you and share what those things are happening. But is there anything else specifically that we could do for you? I'm thinking about this group. Like, is there anything specific? We know you're in New York, but if there was a way to get the word out, is there anything in particular that you might ask for?
So my work with climate emergency advocates, it's a C4. So unlike the C3, it's more of the political wing of the organization. So yeah, I focus on issue-based strategies in certain states. The support would just be sharing, spreading the word about ACE, spreading the word about my work, really. But there are targeted states. Florida has been a targeted state for a while, but I think we all know why it's no longer a targeted state. But that's where my work is, supporting the work and work of young people. I'd say donate to youth groups, have fellowships and partnerships with youth groups. I know there should be an ACE Action Fellowship somewhere in Florida. I'm not sure the exact location, but I can probably check that out on the ACE website.
Yeah, I'll take a look. I'll take a look on the side just to help you out. Ailish has her hand up. Do you want to ask a question there, Ailish?
Hi, I heard almost all of that, but I didn't hear it all. Unfortunately, I was on a telephone call that just went on ad nauseum. But I believe I understand. I believe I understand your reasoning when you say that you will all understand why that you will all understand why Florida is not a targeted state. I think I understand your reasoning behind that, but I wouldn't be inclined to give up on Florida either. I mean, there's wonderful people here, wonderful things, people who are terribly concerned, about climate, and who work very diligently, behind the scenes and up front, politically, at community level, et cetera, and they do amazingly wonderful things. So I wouldn't be inclined to give up on Florida if I were you, Hakim.
Yeah, definitely not giving up on Florida. We still have our fellowship there. That's not ending anytime soon. It's just stepping away from national strategy. So with a C4, many organizations that are 501c3 nonprofits and have a C4, the C4 is just the political wing. The C3 might still be doing work there. So the organizations are usually one and the same. So Planned Parenthood, for example, you might just see it as a clinic, but the C4, Planned Parenthood Action Fund, is the one doing the political gut punching. So if they pull out one, the C4, the C3 is still going to be there offering services, even if services get banned. Planned Parenthood does so much more medically than just what the C4 is even fighting for or fighting politicians against. So ACE work will never stop in Florida. There's always a locality that wants to focus on the climate crisis, especially since big insurance companies are taking over by winning cases for not giving out full payments and all that. Organizations are still in Florida helping localities, but the wider state of Florida, that's not a target politically, mainly because of funding. But C3 work will always be in Florida. C4 may come again in the future. So we're not giving up on Florida.
Good to hear. I shared the link to to answer the question of what is ACE doing in Florida, and I have it up here. Could you just kind of walk me through what are some day-to-day things that ACE is doing, like in terms of like a real action?
So ACE is always doing something, and the state-based advocacy actually makes it hard to track. So for one, we're fighting energy companies in targeted states. So Indiana, Pennsylvania, Ohio, mainly to fight against monopolies. Building a youth action network, and we have a large youth action network in Florida. The fight, usually never legal, it's mainly campaign-based, educating people on the issue of partisan elections or nonpartisan seats like community boards. Some states have like an energy director or something that's not a political seat, but it can be political based on the person's views of what to do with energy, where to outsource it from. So state-based advocacy like that is always popping up all over the country, not just in our targeted states. The thing about targeted states is mainly for get out the vote action, and is usually bolstered election and midterm years. So continuous activity or state-based advocacy that focuses mainly on municipalities or state measures that focus on renewable energy, fighting out monopolies on energy, and advocating for green jobs.
Got it. Got it. No, I understand. You know, we talked about this yesterday, like how how we want the message to come across, and you're asking about the audience, and I told you that you have no fear. You know, you can kind of let it fly, as it were, with your kind of with your perspective. Tell me, before we get to Roger's question, he's got his hand up. Tell me, what's your perspective in terms of climate emergency versus a need for activism? Like, so help me put that into perspective, because I think when we say things like climate emergency, it has a different connotation than, you know, than advocacy, or like you said about the group in New York that was, you know, theoretically concerned with the environment, but weren't ready to answer some of those kind of questions. Can you tell me more about that?
Definitely. I've seen that it's all about the wording. People focus particularly on the wording, and that's where it gets fuzzy in activism. So as an activist, you need, at that point, you need to cater to your audience. So if we're doing advocacy in Kentucky, we're going to probably talk about regenerative agriculture or bolstering energy needs, instead of we need renewable energy, we need to shut down your plants. That wouldn't fly at all. But speaking to the issues that the locality cares about, so we know your community depends on agriculture. Let's bolster it. Let's switch from regular commercial agriculture and doing regenerative agriculture, which is healthier for the soil, brings out more yields, depends less on fertilizer. And let's focus on bolstering your energy needs. We're not saying shut down all your plants. We're saying bring in some wind and solar. You have a river nearby. Let's do some hydroelectric. And then maybe we can dial back or oil dependency. So it's like speaking to a toddler, kind of. You just need to cater to the environment's needs. And sometimes it's all about wording in that case. So the activism won't change. It's approach and tone that will change. So in the climate emergency, can't go around every part of this country saying climate emergency, climate crisis, climate change. It will be the same message, but it will sound different. It will be worded differently. So instead of climate emergency, we'll talk about energy resilience, or we'll speak about community resilience as it pertains to erosion, rising sea levels, personal security, financial security, when we talk about a community being so dependent on oil or a particular type of energy. Yeah, it's all about wording.
Thanks. Roger, you had a question as well?
Yeah, a couple of things. First, good luck with Florida. I did a lot of lobbying in my career, and you've got your work cut out for you. That's all I can say. My granddaughter is 25. She just got her master's degree, and she's going to move from marine biology kind of into environmental activism, something of what you're doing. She was working with a Ralph Nader group during the COVID kind of hiatus. So one of the first questions I had was, are you working with any other groups to try and come up with kind of a coalition or united front?
So ACE, all right. So I will say that my work in SIA is mainly an overseer role. In my younger days, from 2016 onward, I was more boots on the ground, going out there. So why I have the information that I have, I'm in more of an overseer role and an oversight role. So we do have lots of partners. Our biggest coalition is in North Carolina, but ACE actively looks for coalitions. And if there is one in a certain locality that we have state-based advocacy in. So we are probably in a coalition in Florida. I just have to search that up internally. But if we're not, we're actively trying to join one. And partnerships is a big thing for ACE. Most of our work has been successful due to partnerships. Most of the results we've seen with some of our education work, it was due to our partnerships with universities. So partnerships are a big deal, and we do take pride in those.
Follow-up question with that, in terms of your organizational stuff that you're doing, are you guys incorporating any of the work that Stacey Abrams did in Georgia with the kind of organizing tactics she had? Because President Barack Obama, as you know, that was kind of one of his starting gigs, was organizing. Yeah, so I just didn't know if you guys were incorporating other kinds of techniques.
So when we have an issue we care about, first things first, we see if anyone with more money than us cares about the issue, and then we'll jump on. That's the first thing about nonprofit culture. That's where coalitions are born. We are a smaller nonprofit, so in some states, we're definitely the ones organizing. We're definitely the ones pushing a campaign. We've done a campaign like that in Illinois where we spearheaded. But for the most part, yeah, we're not organizing. We're jumping on the coalition. If it doesn't fit, then we'll jump off and do our own organizing. But when we find like minds, definitely come together using the umbrella of the organization with the deeper pockets.
Okay, good, thank you. Go ahead, Sam, if you had another question or somebody else does.
No, it probably is a good time though. Don't you think? I came to see if there's any questions before we get.
Yeah, definitely. It's the last few, so keep them coming.
Any other questions? While folks are thinking or potentially formulating a question, a great link was shared from one of our members, Kimberly, and I'll send you this link in email. But one thing that Rotary does internationally, not our club specifically, there's obviously lots of opportunities, like you said, for scholarships from local clubs. But the Rotary International organization has something we call Peace Fellowship Scholarships. And so I'll send you a link to this, but if there's interest, it's certainly something that you could come back to any one of us to get more information on, or to me personally, and I'll send that link to you. It could theoretically, be an opportunity to perhaps seek, like maybe a master's degree or something like that. If that's something you think might be in your future, could be an opportunity there. So I'll share that with you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Sam, I did send that to him in a private chat. I sent that to you, Hakim, in a private chat. They have, I think, 5 universities around the world where you can go, and it's fully funded. Even your airfare is fully funded. And it's a variety of topics, and it just seems like you'd be such a great fit for that, and an opportunity to really get you involved in an organization that has over 1 million members. I mean, talk about a voice. We have a big voice. And once we solve polio, we'll be looking for something else. So
thanks so much.
You're welcome. I think you'd be great for it. 24 years old. God, I got clothes in my closet older than you, honey.
Me too, and none of them fit.
Susie, you had a question?
It's actually more of a comment. Thanks so much, Hakim, for your efforts and your activism and all you're trying to do to save us from our own stupidity. I'm a native Floridian, been here. Well, that would make me native. I was born here. I'm an 8th generation Floridian. And I will say that I despise what has happened or not happened in this state in terms of environmental issues and things. But one of my real pet peeves is that solar energy should be, solar panels should be required on any building that gets built in this state, as far as I'm concerned. If they built it, like you're required to have windows, you're required to have doors, electricity, toilets, you name it. And if they just added it to the building requirements and it would just get rolled up in the cost of building your house, and it would be, would add $20 a month to your mortgage payment or something. Instead, you have to pay extra for it. And yeah, they give you tax rebates and stuff, but it's still, it's going to take me years to make my money back. But it's a pet peeve of mine, but we're never going to get anywhere as long as FP&L and the power companies have the massive lobby power that they have. It's just a real source of frustration for me.
Right. And that's why state-based advocacies are mainly aimed at fighting the energy companies, because as local residents, we always have these great ideas, but then a lobbying firm comes and say, hey, we're not doing that. And it's not like most of our elected officials are simply bought and paid for. It's just that
they are. It's just that they actually are. So go ahead.
Details.
But it's not just the bought and paid for. It's like they always see it as so the first thing in politics is, how do I get reelected? They're not looking at the large citizenry coming out in support of them. They're looking at, all right, how much will my campaign coffers be filled? So that's the main problem. Then that's why money is such a problem in politics.
Oh. Well, I was going to say thank you for dealing with these politicians and try not to get slimed by them, because I wouldn't want to have to do that on a daily basis.
That was our main problem as a C4, getting insurance and making sure that we had an ironclad shared services agreement, because the main way to attack C4s is to set the IRS on them. That's how C4s get attacked. So definitely.
Yeah. Interesting. Huh.
Roger, I think you had a question as well.
Yeah, first of all, I sent out accidentally a YouTube link to everybody. But everybody can watch it. It is one that was recently put on by Siemens over in Europe, and it's about youth participation and how youth are working with energy. So that might be a good one to take a look at.
Right. I'm just opening all these YouTube links and about to watch after.
Yeah. So that was it. I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
There goes your afternoon, Hakim.
Right.
Doom scrolling through TikTok videos, you're going to be doom scrolling through these YouTube videos.
I'm not really a fan of the TikTok generation. It's
I know it's
very much brain eating.
Yeah, it's
Good to hear.
definitely.
Good to hear. Are there any other questions? What I'll do, Hakim, I'm just kind of thinking out loud. We'll try to collate all these resources and links, and if you want to send me anything else that you think we should go read in our spare time, please do send me that. And then what we'll do after this is we'll do a newsletter. We'll kind of summarize what we talked about here with some kind of call to action items, maybe some resources, some things to go a little deeper. And I'd love to include those in that document. So please do send me anything else. Are there any other questions from the group? I feel like this was, my hope, Hakim, was that you would just get an introduction to some folks who are like-minded, but maybe not your usual group of folks to hang out with on lunch on a Tuesday. But we want to tell you loud and clear, we are behind you 100%. And this is something that we are all passionate about. And I just, it's not, your value is not simply because you are young or look different or have a different place in the world than we do. That's not the value that I have for you. The value that I have from you is I'm looking to you for leadership. I'm looking to you for opportunities. I'm looking to you for ways to kind of jazz me up and find ways to re-engage. And then from the perspective of this organization, from Rotary International, we need people like you. We need young men and women like you. We need you desperately to keep doing what you're doing. And if you need support, if you need help, if there's anything that we can do to empower you, we're here. We're all ears. We're arms wide open, ready to help. So please pass that along to your colleagues. Pass that along to your to your groups, to your social circles, etc. We are absolutely chomping at the bit to find opportunities to re-engage and do things with you. So that's my message. Kimberly, I see your hand up as well.
Well, I want to personally extend an invitation to you and any of the members of your group to join our group and become members of Rotary. I mean, I think we're a perfect fit. And there's no attendance requirement like there used to be. So you can miss a meeting if you need to, but we meet on this platform every Tuesday, except next week, at noon. And I really think if we're looking for people to carry on the mission, you and the folks that you work with would be perfect fits with us. So I'm sure, I don't want to speak for everybody else on the call, but I'm sure that invitation is extended by everybody. We know you're busy and we appreciate that, but we're associated with a group of 1 million people and what around the world. So what better way to get that message out?
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you.
But do give it a think.
And let us know, Hakim, too, about the Florida connections as well, because I see the website here, but if there's any value to it, by all means, share my information with your Florida folks, and I'll pass that along to this group as well. And if there's a way that we can be more, a little bit more locally engaged. I mean, personally, we'd love to engage with you and with the organization, but if there's a way that we can make that a little bit more community focused, if it's something here in our area where approximately half of us are at in Florida, we'd love to have that conversation as well. If there's something we can do for that ACE Florida group.
All right,
Yeah, and
definitely.
I'm in West Virginia. We could sure use you up here. You know what we're up against with our members of Congress.
Definitely, can't miss a day with that one.
Yeah, I know.
Good. Okay. Well, if there's no other questions, I do want to make sure that I stay on track for time. And like Susie and Kimberly said, we know that you have a lot going on, that you're very busy, and I just really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us and to tell us a little bit more about your story. Send me all those resources. I'll make sure that we pass those along to this group. But just a big, giant, warm thank you to you, Hakim. Thank you for everything you're doing, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for the questions, especially. Love the questions. Thank you for the links.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming.
Good.
Thank you.
Well, I think if everybody's okay, if there's no other follow-ups, what we'll do is we'll close this call out. I can end the recording. Folks can stay on and chat if they want to. Hakim, if you need to drop, you can. But I'll close this recording with our Rotary motto, which is service
above self.
Above self.
All right.
Service above self.
Take care, everyone. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Yes.
And don't forget the 28th Alish's Hang a Wish, hanging out, hanging wishes.
Yes.
So
Yes, indeed.
So that'll be Wednesday the 28th from 1 to 4 in Palm Bay. I don't know who's going to be able to attend. I know I'll be there. Tinola's hoping to be there.
I'll be there in spirit.
Dave Anders, maybe you and I can ride down
I'm
together.
going to be there.
Awesome.
Cool.
Awesome.
Thank you, Hakim.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
All
you.
right,
Thank you
everybody.
for
I'm
having
going to
me.
drop off. Lots going on. Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.